Önce hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Aslan balığı çalıştayımızın ikinci gününde hem ülkemiz hem uluslararası uygulamalara yönelik yine bilgileri paylaşacak uzmanlarımız bizlerle. Ve arkasından da bu çalışmalara yönelik sorular, öneriler, görüşlerimizi paylaşabileceğiz. Aynı zamanda yine bahsedildiği yandaki Zoom ekranın yanında yer alan chatbox üzerinden de görüşlerinizi, sorularınızı iletebilirsiniz. Bir 5-10 dakika geciktik, lütfen bunun için özürlerimizi kabul edin. Bazı bağlantılarda sorunlarımız vardı, onu sağlamaya çalıştık. Bugünkü moderatörümüz İskenderun Teknik Üniversitesi.
Today's moderator is from Iskenderun Technical University, Professor Dr. Cemal Turan. He will be moderating today. And now, if you'll let me, I'd like to give the microphone to Mr. Cemal Turan. I wish we're going to have another fruitful day.
Evet,
Have a nice day.
Merhaba Mehmet Bey.
Hello, Mehmet Bey.
Değerli katılımcılar.
Distinguished audience.
Umarım güzel bir
I
verimli
hope
bir
you enjoyed our workshop yesterday. And I hope you will be enjoying today as well. I don't know in which language I should be moderating today.
Sunmak istiyorum. Genelde çünkü yabancı katılımcılar var.
I can do it in English because we already have some foreign guests. Well, Professor, as you feel confident, because we already have the
Maria's
introducers.
workshop. This is the second day, and it's been very fruitful so far. I hope it's gonna be very fruitful today as well. Now I give the place Associate Professor Mahir Kan Yılmaz, Head of Department of Fisheries. Yes, Mahir, please can you start the presentation, and please can you stick the time? There, Mahir Kan Yılmaz, can you hear me? Mahir Hocam?
In fact, Professor Mahir Kan Yılmaz is here among the participants, but he is muted.
Yeah, there, Mahir Kan Yılmaz. Welcome to first presentation of today, and I give the place to you. And please, can you stick the time? Thank you. Okay, no problem. Please.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank you for giving this opportunity to give the information on the side of our Director General regarding the fisheries regulation that is in effect in Turkey. I will briefly inform you during the presentation. I think my presentation is not moving on the screen. You can do it on your computer, sir. In fact, this is what I am doing, but it is stuck.
Evet, şu an tamam hocam, ilerliyor.
And it will be better if you can make it full screen. Let me shut it in, open it once again. And okay, once you do it, also make it full screen. In fact, it is in full screen mode in my computer, but Mr. Mahir Kan Yılmaz, please first turn off the share screen option, then make it full screen, and then put it back on the share screen mode, please. I'm sorry about this.
Yok, önemli değil hocam. Tam ekran modunu açtıktan sonra paylaşım yaparsanız.
Just turn on the full screen mode and then share your screen. Yeah, this is what I'm
Ha,
trying to
önce
do.
sunum moduna
Like,
geçin,
it's
ondan
already
sonra
in that
paylaşın.
setting in my computer, but I cannot put it on the Zoom display. I don't know why. What about now?
Geldi hocam. Ya değişti hocam ama sizin notlarınızda görünüyor yalnız. Onu bilin. Evet, çıkmanız gerekiyor. Sadece slide moduna girin hocam.
Well,
Siz
please go into
kendi sunucu
into the
moduna
slide
girdiniz.
mode.
Sunucu moduna girmeyin, slide
That
moduna
is
girin.
not it. Please do not use the presenters mode. Use the slide presenters mode. Use the slides mode instead. Thank you. Beg your pardon. Just a moment, please.
Sadece sunum moduna girin, sunucu moduna girmeyin hocam.
I
Sıkıntı
have
yok
to do it
hocam.
this way. I
Tamam.
can't do the otherwise. I'm sorry.
Tamam hocam,
I'm
sıkıntı
sorry.
yok.
Beg your
Sıkıntı
pardon. I
yok.
can't do the otherwise. My apologies for the inconvenience. I'll be talking about the current and past regulations when it comes to fisheries and aquaculture in Turkey. The fisheries law in Turkey would be the title of my presentation. Before the establishment proclamation of the Republic of Turkey, we also had some arrangements and regulations back in the Ottoman era. The first piece of legislation was a regulation on the export of mussels and oysters in the historical peninsula and Galata, Üsküdar, and Haslar regions, followed by the 1882 regulation, which was enacted in January the 9th, 1882. In the same year, in May this time, another regulation governing the Fisheries Administration was enacted. So 150 years ago, the first piece of legislation came into force in Turkey when it comes to fisheries. Then came the Republic of Turkey. After the proclamation of the Republic in 1924, a regulation was enacted, and the same law was amended in 1926. But the first regulation, the first piece of legislation belonging to the Republican period came in 1926 and called cabotage law, and it governed that the activities in the water and the fishing activities can be done by the Turkish citizens in the Turkish water. In 1943, another piece of legislation came to effect to regulate prohibitions in the area of fishing. In 1971, the aquaculture law was enacted, and it governed the protection of biodiversity and habitats in the waters and protection of natural species in the water resources. And this law was amended from time to time until today, but last year, the most extensive form of amendment was undertaken, and in January 2020, the amended law was enacted. And in this respect, sustainable use and protection of the resources, natural resources, protection of biodiversity and habitat, regulation of fishing activities, prevention of the spread of invasive and alien species in our resources, and illegal removal of fishery products from abroad, and similar arrangements have been, similar works have been governed by the law. And the law in question generally governs the area of fisheries in Turkey, but the detailed provisions to be adopted, the regulation on aquaculture was adopted in 1993, and in this regulation, the scope and purpose of the law was kept, but the provisions were this time more in depth and detail. And in relation to this regulation, a variety of circulars were adopted from time to time, and with the updating of the aquaculture law, the invasive species, protection of resources, and please mute yourself. Hatice, please mute yourself. And similar activities have been still going on in order to update the legislation as required. And in addition to the law on fisheries and aquaculture, there are lots of circulars governing the amateur fishing and sports activities in the waters. And this way, liabilities, restrictions, and prohibitions on fishing for the protection of fishery resources is governed, and in collaboration and consultation with the stakeholders, such regulations are adopted. This year, as of September, a regulation on the commercial fisheries was adopted, and it'll stay in place. It'll stay effective until August 2024, September 2024. And you can here see the regulation on the amateur fishing. When it comes to commercial fishing, what matters is, especially in respect of the regulation, monitoring of the vessels, commercial fishing vessels is important, and also, detailed data is to be kept and stored in the databases as a result of monitoring activities. So all of these aspects make their way into the regulation. That was it in general. Actually, we have some 15 regulations related to fishing activities, but basically we have the law on fisheries and aquaculture, followed by the regulation on aquaculture and fisheries, and also the regulation on the non-professional fishing, amateur fishing. Thank you very much for your kind attention and for consuming Lionfish. I'd like to extend my thanks to all of you. Thank you. If you have questions, I'll be more than glad to collect them. Thank you, Professor Jamal. Can you hear me?
Evet Mahir Hocam, çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Güzel bir sunumdu.
Thank you, Mahir, for this very
değerli bilgilendirmeleriniz için.
Mahir, thank you very much for this nice presentation.
Bu seksiyonun sonunda
We'll
alacağız.
be collecting the questions at the end of the session,
sorusu olan arkadaşlarımız varsa,
so if
bu
people have
kahve break'ten
questions for
önce
you, they can
yapalım diye
keep it.
düşünüyorum. Çünkü
They
sıcağı
can keep
sıcağına.
it
En sonunda yapmak biraz bazı
until the
katılımcılar
end of the
olmayacağı için
session. We can collect the questions just before the coffee break, because we might lose some people after the coffee break. So we will give the floor to the rest of the presenters until the coffee break, and just before the coffee break, we will be having a Q&A session. Thank you. The next speech, the next presentation will be about economic losses. A case study for Lionfish. Professor Vahdettin will do the next presentation. Professor, are you ready to go?
Vahdet Hocam.
Professor Wahdet, you ready?
Mikrofonu kapalı olabilir.
I think you're still muted. Can you please kindly unmute yourself? I think we lost his connection. He is reconnecting at the moment. Thank you.
Pufferfish'i beraber yapmıştık. Online bir Lionfish'in bir ders çıkardık. Vahdet Hocam.
We did this study together,
Dersleri
Professor
almış
Wahdet, you
herhalde.
remember.
Güzel notları var.
He has a very nice
Merhaba Vahdet
presentation
Hocam.
coming up. Hello, hi everyone.
Place is yours.
And convert to the lionfish. In this sense, okay, how can I skip to second? Okay. For just a minute. Right. As we all aware, Mediterranean is the most invited sea in the world. Almost 1,000 marine alien species, which more than half are considered to be established or spreading. So these can become invasive as well. These species cause several problems, some negative impacts. But one of the most important impact is ecosystem, human health, and the economic loss. It causes substantial economic losses, as pufferfish has already done in Turkish fisheries. This species has entered our waters through the Turkey. It was recorded by myself and our colleagues 2003. So since then, it created huge economic problem, social and economic problem, as well as health problem. You can see the first time here in western south of Turkey, Gökova Bay, then appeared almost every corner of all over the Mediterranean. Recently, the last record was given by Bayram Öztürk and Murat Bilecanoğlu, our colleagues from the Black Sea. You can see from this figure, we published several articles on economic loss of the species. Actually, it was around 5 million euro per year for the small-scale fishers. However, this was not all. Real loss was much more than we estimated. As you can see from the photo, this species also damages the fish, as already entangled to nets or long lines, eat them and cut the fishing gears. So they are giving her damage to fishing gears as well as fish on the gears. So these estimations excluded the loss comes from the fish, only calculated for the loss of labor, as well as loss of or damages of fishing gears. So have we had any benefits from pufferfish? Because their biomass increased a lot. Huge quantity of pufferfish appeared within the 17 years in Turkish waters and also Eastern Mediterranean. So far, this is the only benefit, concrete benefit of pufferfish I have ever known, actually. The photo was taken by Corsini Foca. This photo from Rhodos Island of Greece and from the aquarium. So we see here the use of pufferfish for the aquarium purpose. However, there are more negative impacts of these species. There are even some death cases in Mediterranean. You can see from the scientific papers the number of incidents and number of deaths, as well as some recent articles published in 2018, which shows us toxic invasive pufferfish along Italian coasts. So recently, just a few months ago, there was that case from the Turkey, the southern part, Antalya. One angler provided a pufferfish to his friend, and he said he consumes regularly and he hasn't got any problem. So when the man has eaten the fish, lost his life. So since this is not a pufferfish workshop, I'm gonna skip these slides and start to talk on lionfish. However, the last one, the questions are rising here. We couldn't use this species for pharmaceutical or medical use, which could be actually a great opportunity and great solution to turn this situation from the threat to the opportunity. There was several opportunities, companies, international companies interested in extraction of the TTX from the pufferfish for the use of pharmaceutical and medical use. But we couldn't do any improvement. We couldn't have any improvement about this. And it was said that the skin of the fish is going to be used for the some purpose to make leather bags for women, etc. Nothing has been happened yet. And Mr. Jamal, who is chairing this session, also had some patent, I think, on the use of teeth of pufferfish for the medical purpose, etc. But so far as I know, there's no any improvement on that. So I think we haven't been able to get any benefit or derived any benefit from the pufferfish yet. So we spent already 17 years. In terms of management or regulations, we haven't seen any regulation from the administrative side, except the landing of this species is prohibited, prohibition of the landing. However, this is not sufficient to manage the problems and the sector affected by pufferfish. So the situation is quite...
Wahid, 1 minute left.
We couldn't establish monitoring system. We couldn't start any compensation system for the small-scale fishes who were affected negatively from existing of this species. So we have new guest now, lionfish. Since 1991, the Golani and the Sorin recorded first appearance of the lionfish in Mediterranean. We have new guest, new trouble, which is worse than pufferfish, in my opinion. You can see from the map here, it's records from the Mediterranean and the southern coast of Turkey until some southern west coast of Turkey. We have quite a lot records of puffer lionfish. So Mr. Jamal and his colleagues has given a record and introduced the existence of this species into a scientific community, interested communities in all over the world. This species came or entered to Turkish seas in 2014. Now, we have bad experience from pufferfish, quite bad. We couldn't do, to be honest, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't create any benefits from the existence of pufferfish. We spent 17 years for nothing. Now we have new trouble, lionfish. How are we going to deal with this fish or create some concrete benefits from this species? We should immediately start. No time. It is time to. It's high time to act. Actually, no time to spend anymore. So we should start management plan, national management plan, which was done by other countries. Those experienced this problem several years ago around the Caribbean seas. And we should absolutely increase the awareness and the solution. We should focus market-oriented solutions. So for this purpose, we are lucky indeed, because we have some lessons to learn from the other countries' experience. The Western Atlantic and the Caribbean invasion will show us some solutions. You can see from here, thanks to Eileen, she has provided these photos to me this morning. There are several opportunities to create a positive economy for the existence of lionfish. People are paying around $300 to follow invasive lionfish trackers specialty course in some countries. And you can see here a tool to hunt or catch this species. And the United States, 2010, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration launched an Eat Lionfish campaign to bring together all the communities and stakeholders, wholesalers, and the chefs to broaden the consumer awareness of invasive species, because we should create fishing pressure on this species. We should get them out from the sea. While we are doing this, we should create some additional economic benefits from this species. Coming to the end, there are also some awareness campaign and also some activities to publish cookbooks on lionfish. You can see some example of here. And this photo was taken by myself in Kaş, Antalya, Turkey, a few months ago. And you can see the lionfish on the market for sale. So 25 lira, which means €2.5 or almost $3 per kilo. Thanks to Mediterranean Conservation Society, which is very strong in that area with the projects, they provided and also encouraged fishers.
Hocam zamanı çok geçtik. Vakit hocam. We passed the time too much.
And sometimes the Mediterranean Conservation Society is paying for this just to create market for this species. I think this afternoon, Zafer Kızılkaya, head of the society, is going to present very interesting presentation about this, as well as Phil and his friends also will deliver a presentation on marketing issues. So you can see another alternative to use of Lionfish to create some, let's say, employment opportunities or income opportunities. These photos belongs to Aylin, Mr. Aylin Ulman. She also is designer of these gifts. They're impressive. And I'm sure there's huge demand on these products. So last minute, I would like to say, although we are in trouble with the lionfish entrance to our waters, on the other hand, we are lucky because we can benefit from the guidance of experienced researchers from other countries, from the United States mainly, from the countries around the Caribbean seas. They experienced difficulties, problems of this species.
Fatih Hocam, beni duyuyor musunuz?
Thank you so much. This is all I can share with you for the time being. I'm ready to get your questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Wahdit, for your valuable, very nice presentation. But we passed the time very much. You passed the time. Anyway, as I told before, we have the questions at the end of this section. So we passed through another presentation, fishing competitions, safe handling and spear fishing techniques, and urgent need of help from scuba divers by, I think, Alex.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah, please, is yours, Alex.
Okay, great. Thanks again. Good morning again from Florida. I'm Alex Fogg, and for this talk, I'm going to be quickly running through fishing competitions specifically for lionfish. It can be extremely successful to not only remove a lot of fish from the system, but also raise a lot of awareness about the species. I'm going to be talking about safe handling and why divers are so important to the successful management of this invasive species. I only have 10 minutes, so please don't hesitate to ask questions at the end or when we have the allotted time. So to give you a roadmap of this talk, I'll briefly touch on organized lionfish removals. And we talked about this briefly yesterday with Dr. Harris and Dr. Giddings, but I'll touch on that first again, just to reiterate what we talked about. Also address proper gear to keep you safe during removal activities and during fish processing and handling. Lastly, I'll talk about how individuals, specifically divers, have gotten involved in the Western Atlantic and why are they some of the most important pieces in managing this invasion. So let's start with organized events and competitions. I've already talked about this and how these events work, but I want to reiterate it again. What I mean by organized events is incentivizing participants, specifically divers, to remove lionfish. This isn't just rewarding the participants for biggest and most lionfish, but also the smallest lionfish. This ensures that the participants are doing their best to remove every lionfish that they come across, but it also ensures scientists who may be sampling lionfish through these events are able to get an accurate representation of the lionfish population by reducing or eliminating any bias associated with size selectivity. And during these events, there's a great deal of outreach and education around invasive species and conservation initiatives as a whole. And in most cases, there's a pulse of lionfish that actually make it into the market, which further incentivize divers to harvest lionfish and provide consumers who don't dive the opportunity to order a novel seafood dish that actually tastes pretty darn good and is really sustainable. So I'm not too familiar with lionfish events that have been organized in the Mediterranean to date. I have seen a few here and there, but I don't know how they operated. And whether it's collaboration is really the key to all of this. And whether it's collaborating with local dive shops and organizations, local governments, restaurants, venues, and universities. It's all very necessary, and it's probably the most important part of hosting a successful lionfish event. These collaborations can result in monetary sponsorships or support to just put towards incentivizing participation. Big money and big incentives bring about big participation. The event that we host here in the United States has grown to a very large event, mostly because of the prizes that are on the table. In some cases, the event may be hosted in an area where regulations may prevent spearfishing or scuba diving for that matter, but working with regulators to allow lionfish harvest only with authorized harvesting gear. We talked about yesterday, a very small pole spear can actually make the event happen. And in the case of the Florida Keys, permits are actually issued to the event organizers to allow divers to harvest lionfish in areas where spearfishing is normally not allowed, and it's actually been very successful. They can only use a specific gear type, being a pole spear, a small pole spear, and no guns are allowed. This gear restriction significantly reduces the risk for poaching and illegal activities. These activities still will happen, but it would also happen even if spearfishing was still banned in those areas. So a lot of divers make their own lionfish containment unit or contraption to hold lionfish during the dive. While you can certainly do that and it works for the most part, there are units out there that, in my opinion, work much better than anything out there. Dr. Giddings spoke about a number of these pieces of equipment. The Zookeeper lionfish containment unit is the tube or bag that is designed to keep you safe during the dive and is used by almost all novice and experienced hunters here in the United States. I believe Zookeepers are distributed in the Mediterranean now, or at least they provide the components to allow you to build your own. And I encourage you to go check them out if you can find them. When it comes to pole spears, there are a number of choices. Pole spear is probably the most efficient, about 3 to 4 foot long, can have anywhere from 3 to 6 barbs or tines that have barbs on them. The end of the spear that isn't the tip is actually equipped with a rubber band, and that's what you use to propel the spear towards the lionfish. You can also just stab lionfish as well, and in just a moment I'm going to show you a video of how we do it over here in the United States. Lastly is gloves. There are a number of dive gloves out there. Some are puncture proof, some are a basic just outdoor like glove. Each have their pros and cons, but as long as you're wearing gloves, it'll provide a better grip on your equipment. And the gloves will also help lessen the severity of the sting if that were to happen. A lot of times the spine can actually still make it through the glove, but a lot of the venom comes off on the glove before it actually injects you. So the last item on this slide is OOPS equipment. What I mean by OOPS equipment is if you were to get stung, you want to make sure that you have things on board to be able to take care of that sting. It's not pleasant. You will live. It is quite painful. There's actually never been a reported death, so that's a good thing. Lionfish venom is a protein-based venom, and it can be denatured with heat. So having heat packs or a thermos of hot water on board to help denature that venom if you do get stung is really important. Having ibuprofen and general first aid supplies is also good to have as well to keep the affected area clean. And again, at the end of the presentation, for those of you who may not know how, I'll show you how to put all this together to harvest lionfish. So this last slide is a call to arms of sorts. Pretty much everything we know about lionfish is because researchers were able to get their hands on lionfish that in most cases were captured by divers. The commercial market in the United States is supplied primarily by divers. The only reason we can host large tournaments and events surrounding lionfish is because we have divers to participate. Resource managers and local organizations need to work with divers to help develop management plans or rules to tackle this novel invasion, specifically in the Mediterranean. I discussed how this has been done in the United States with permitting specific gear to harvest lionfish from certain normally closed areas. This again can be done in other regions such as the Mediterranean. If you ask for lionfish at your local restaurant and market and give those heavily pressured species a rest, that's certainly a plus. And if demand can be established and rules can be put in place to allow for the harvest of lionfish, the lionfish invasion can be slowed, and it may be a case that lionfish become hard to find and the native system can catch their breath. So this last slide I have is a video. Let's see if this one works. From a lionfish tournament that we hosted over here in Florida. And this is using the gear that I described, being a zookeeper and a pole spear with a number of spines on it. I'm not actually using the rubber bands, but it's just like picking up trash. But it's important to get the little ones too. And that's really all I have. So again, if there's questions later on, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Alex, for this very nice presentation and video sharing. We have the question at the end of this section. Now we pass through another presentation, which is Lionfish Fishing Competition Report from North Cyprus by Burak Ali Çiçek. Hi, Burak. Hello, Burak. Can you hear me? Burak? Burak, hello.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Burak. How are you?
I'm
Nice to
fine.
see you
and
here.
Yes.
Hello from Turkey.
Hello from Cyprus to everybody.
Okay, the place is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to. I will try to
Please.
keep it. Yes, in 5 minutes. Let me start the slideshow. So technically everything's okay. Is it? Is it?
It's all right.
Okay.
Everything is fine.
Thank you. My name is Burak Ali Çiçek from Cyprus, Eastern Mediterranean University. First of all, thank you very much for dear organizers, and also welcome to the participants. Going to try to inform you about how we convince our officers to hunt lionfish with scuba diving. Okay. Cyprus, it is the third biggest island in the Mediterranean with a very dry Mediterranean climate and limited runoff. It is on the eastern part of the Mediterranean in the Levanten Basin. As you can see with the arrows, I show the currents coming from the Atlantic Ocean from Gibraltar. And this is a very brief image from orbits showing that the chlorophyll A concentration, the, let's say, productivity of the Eastern Mediterranean. As you can see, the perilous waters, blue waters, are clear, very good for scuba diving, but they are not productive. So if we want to summarize the properties, characteristics of our waters, we should say we have got low nutrients, very high temperature, very high salinity, and high oligotropy, which has a huge impact on the food web. So it was a very good research done by Turley. You can see the variables or the steps in the trophic levels: primary production, bacterial production, fisheries, suspended materials, and benthic biomass. As you can see, it is totally different, very, very low from western part of the Mediterranean. And of course, the productivity is very low when we consider Atlantic and the other oceans. So we have got very low fish biomass and low biodiversity. But we have got the biotope effect. As I told you, it's a big island, different geomorphological structures, substratum types, and we have got huge macrophytes and invertebrates depending on the biotopes. So, providing this, especially in specific places, we have got hotspots. Let me talk to you about that. Approximately, there are total 37 main biotopes around our waters. Although the biodiversity is low, some specific locations are very productive, and we have got sensitive organisms. You know many of them. We discussed it yesterday. I didn't mention about the caritas, groupers, and the importance of marine protected areas. We have them, and in especially in different substratum types, or let's say biotopes. The first one, the most productive one, is the hard substratum. Then we have got Posidonia beds, mainly. Okay, I'm listing the main ones, not going into detail. And we have got bare substratum types. Some parts of those are productive again, but in general it is not. And we have got artificial reefs, or intended, unintended artificial reefs, which behaves like reefs. So, okay, we studied that in detail with underwater visual sensors, and okay, tried to specify those areas where biodiversity hotspots can occur. And we have got different locations depending on different biotop types, but especially soft substratum types, Posidonia oceanica, and reef structures close to Posidonia oceanica. Okay, while we are cooling, trying to remove those species invaders from those important biotop types, you should remember this reef, Posidonia, and the soft substratum. Soft substratum, it was impacted by puffer fishes too much. Vahdet Hoca talk about those organisms. Now we are facing the same trouble for Posidonia oceanica and reef structures. We have got aliens. This list is an old one. Like it is approximately 2-3 years ago. So we have got more now, approximately 35 to 40 species. The studies we are doing in the field, we also work in the laboratory and try to understand the behavior, what they consume, and etc. All those alien species. And now we are talking about this lionfish. We find that okay, they are consuming all the natives and sometimes other invasives, and also find in the field work that okay, this data depends on a huge field work, approximately more than 15 years. But okay, we saw them that in the hard, in the soft substratum, Lagocephalus scleratus is impacting the area, and we observe. It is okay. Statistically, I have to work on this issue, but okay. In the first glance, we saw that native species populations are decreasing, most probably depending on Lagocephalus. We also find that for the hard substratum, which can be related with our Pteris miles, the lionfish. Then we, after those findings, we try to convince our officials, animal husbandry department, to let us hunt those with scuba fishing, and started culling. Meanwhile, research. Cooling in Lefke, Kyrenia, Yeni Erenköy, Kalecik, and İskele. What we did, we organized fishing competitions. Okay, this year in 2020, because of this COVID pandemic, we couldn't organize it. But in 2018 and 2019, we organized it 2 times. We did it with permission of Ministry of Natural Resources and Agriculture, Animal Husbandry Department under this ministry, in collaboration with Hunters Federation and the diving centers. In those competitions, we separate scuba divers and pre-divers. We form teams and also individual competitors and characterize the categories like total amount of fish. Let's say, like Alex talk about, most fish, um, juveniles or smallest pig, smallest fish, and the biggest fish. In 2018, there were 325 fish total, with 13 pre-diver teams with their own boats. They dive up to 25 meters, sometimes 30 meters, and there were 3 divers per team. Then in the scuba teams, again, there were 3 scuba teams. Again, 2 divers per team hunt between 20 to 30 meters of depth. But in 2019, almost with the same effort, we catch 1,025 fish. It is probably not because the population is increasing, but our divers learn how to hunt them. And I tried to find the photos. As you can see, in 2018, when we started first, we used ordinary boxes, cans, and etc. to catch the fish. We didn't have this zookeepers. In 2019, also we start using zookeepers, or we produce similar things to zookeepers. So we improve ourselves, not because the population was increasing. Okay, what are the good things and bad things?
Allah kız yapma.
Okay. The good things and the bad things happened. In 2018, there were 3 divers injured. In 2019, no divers, no accidents happened. Probably, again, it is related with our divers are improving their selves in catching those fish. And I also want to mention about their performance, because I took my notes. Scott yesterday informed us that the average is 23 to 26, depending on the sex, fish per hour. Now,
Can you come to
yes.
please?
Okay,
We are
okay.
out of time.
Okay, now our fishers, scuba diving fishers, collect approximately 100 fishes per dive, per hour, approximately. So we are improving ourselves. The last slide. Okay, we are dealing with manual eradication. Some people are saying that, okay, it is useless, but I strongly believe that at least we are trying to do something. Protection of local species, especially groupers, sea turtles, and etc., are important. But again, some of the researchers say that, okay, Mediterranean is going to be a tropical sea. Do not fight with it. Try to get used to it. Of course, there is no need to discuss those impacts of climate change at the same time. But as Vahdet Hoca said, Katsanavakis, summarized everything very well. The impacts of the invasives are huge on economical, social levels, and also on our psychology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Burak, for this nice research and presentation from Cyprus. And by the way, we get the question by chat box. Please ask the presenters the question by using the chat box. We only get the question by chat box, just for reminding. And we pass through the other presentation, the last presentation for this section, Lionfish fishing in Turkey by Zafer Tosunoğlu. Pardon, sorry. Deep sea lionfish traps. Hi, Steve.
Hi, can you hear me?
The place is yours. Sorry for miss.
Okay. Is the audio good?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Excellent.
And you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you for inviting us to talk about traps. So we've been talking a lot about water control of lionfish, but both deep and shallow water control of lionfish populations is critical if we want to protect the invaded ecosystems. We've been developing gradually over time lionfish traps to support a deep water fishery for probably 5 or 6 years. We've been working on it. I've done most of the design work, and then Holden will talk about some recent testing that he's done on the traps, the effectiveness of the traps. So this graph shows that divers can effectively remove lionfish down to about 30 meters or so, but there are a lot of deep water areas in dark blue between, say, 30 meters and 100 meters, or 300 meters, I should say, where there are a lot of lionfish that are not being removed right now. And traps are likely the most effective other means besides spearfishing for removing lionfish, but they're also the only likely mechanism of removal in deep water. So you've really got two options, spearfishing and traps. And with the right gear, commercial trap fishing could reduce lionfish abundances throughout the invaded range in the Western Atlantic without negative environmental impacts. The traps that we've been working on proven to be effective, low cost, low impact, FAD-based. That means fish attraction device based. There's no bait. That reduces the bycatch levels, the catch of unwanted species, and also prevents fishing by the traps if the traps are lost. We call it ghost fishing. So these traps prevent ghost fishing, and they're transportable because they fold up and transportable in large numbers on fishing boats. And those were our design goals. These traps, the current design that I use, we call it a purse trap, but it allows the traps to be thrown overboard. The floats on the harness cause the trap to drop vertically through the water column at about 1 meter per second. And when they hit the bottom, the curved deflectors on the bottom of each jaw force the jaws apart, causing the trap to lay flat on the bottom. And then the FAD stands up because it's plastic, stands up in the water column and attracts lionfish from nearby fish or nearby reefs. And then, or it serves as shelter for fish that are swimming past. And lionfish are much more attracted to these traps than any other species, which reduces bycatch as well. I have two short video clips to show you. One showing a trap dropping in the water. And you'll see it goes down at about 1 meter per second. And when it hits the bottom, those two curved deflectors on the bottom of each jaw are what forces the jaws open and the trap to lay out on the bottom. And then the FAD stands up above the bottom to attract lionfish. Oops, sorry. And then this second video shows lifting the trap, and watch how the loose netting billows when it closes, and that prevents the lionfish from being pushed out of the trap by touching the net. And the trap is fully closed before the net touches the fish. See how loose the netting is. And then the harness allows the net, forces the net to stay closed on a scent, so there's no escape of fish inside the trap. So recently we've started building traps without any welding required at the hinges, and simplified the bending process to make it possible to have straight bends instead of curved bends in the rebar. It's simpler for some people to make traps that way. So there's no need to make curved bends if you don't like to. And the tight bends allow us to create an axle hinge at each side of the, on each end of the axle. And we put tight loops at the end of one end of the jaw, and then a tight loop above the deflector at the other end of the jaw. And that creates a hinge point for the axle to go through. Now the next step is to do commercial testing on the traps. And the priority need is to get professional fishermen to try the traps out and figure out how best to fish them. And we have a grant now in place to do that. So this next spring, we'll be working with commercial fishermen to improve the design and the materials on the trap, possibly. Now Holden will talk about recent trap tests that he's been doing.
Thank you, Dr. Giddings. So in Florida, the deep water lionfish problem is of major concern. And in Florida, we have a whole lot of hook and line fishing and long lines. However, we found now that lionfish do not take a hook. So spearfishing on scuba is the primary way to remove lionfish, and it's been successful in shallower water. But of course, this cannot control these deep water populations. So the University of Florida has recently conducted 2 projects testing lionfish traps in the Gulf of Mexico. The first study tested Giddings traps in shallow water of about 40 meters near high density artificial reefs. And the second study expanded on this, testing these in deep water natural reefs with several different trap types. Due to time constraints, I'll just present this from about a 10,000 foot, really high level, but we'll point out details where you can go find more details. So in this first study, we tested traps near these high density artificial reefs, about 40 meters. What we found is in 82 trap sets, we recruited a total of 327 lionfish and 29 native fishes. So it was encouraging that traps attracted about 10 times more lionfish than all other native fishes combined. However, we also found that lionfish escapement was about 50%. So this is clearly a technical issue that we're currently working to figure out. We also analyzed several deployment factors. So including single versus paired traps, deploying traps at different distances from the reefs and at different soak times. Fortunately, we'll have to go by these figures pretty quick. But what I want you to notice is the size of this lionfish bar in orange is much larger than the size of these native fish bar. And we tested these on these different factors. So overall, we found lionfish recruitment was highest for a single trap compared to paired traps. And it was better to deploy them at 5 or 15 meters from the reef with about a 1-day soak time. So for this, we optimized this with approximately 5 lionfish and 0.1 native fish species. We expanded this in a larger subsequent study, and here we tested 3 different trap designs near deep water natural reefs. So traps included spiny lobster traps here in figure A, South Atlantic sea bass pots in panel B, and the Giddings lionfish trap, which we described earlier. We made 300 trap deployments, 100 of each type, and these were made in depths of 40 to 80 meters. And to quickly show a couple preliminary results, we're still preparing this manuscript. It was evident that the Giddings traps outperformed the other 2 trap designs with higher lionfish removals and lower bycatch of native fish species. The catch rates of Giddings traps were about 5 times higher than the catch rates of native fishes. And really, it appeared evidence that the bycatch rates from the lobster traps and the sea bass traps and these traps were unacceptably high for a directed lionfish fishery. So the lobster traps caught about 30 times more native fishes than lionfish by weight, and the sea bass traps caught over 150 times more native fishes by weight, so clearly unacceptable. We also deployed time-lapse remote video cameras onto these so we could document the rates when lionfish and other fishes showed up into these traps. And some preliminary analysis of these time-lapse videos indicate that lionfish catch could be optimized with a 2-day deployment and retrieving them in the morning. So in figure A, you can see this relative peak in lionfish catch in day 2. In figure B, very quickly, just notice the highest bar in lionfish count in the Giddings traps was at dawn. And here, lionfish recruitment at dawn was about 50% higher compared to catch at midday, which is encouraging. So ultimately, we found that the Giddings traps were the best performing traps, and we determined some ways to optimize their use. However, we found in this test that the overall catch rates was rather low, about 1 lionfish in every 2 trap sets, which is currently too low to support commercial fishing operations. So continued research and testing is going to be needed to examine potential methods to increase lionfish attraction rates and to test whether their use may be economically feasible by use with commercial fishermen. So this is why it's exciting that our upcoming research will test this with fishermen and collaborators in the Florida Keys. And these results were very high level, but please, if you're interested in more details, please get in contact with Dr. Giddings or I. And I'll point you to our open access article recently published in August in PLOS ONE. And I'll paste this link into the chats. And to look forward to the results from the larger study is in preparation for Frontiers in Marine Science. So we'll be happy to chat with this, chat more about this at the end, or of course after. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very interesting and good presentation and research. Please ask your questions by chat box, using chat box. And at the end of this section, we will get this question to the presenters. Yes, now we pass through the last presentation of this section, Lionfish Fishing in Turkey by Zafer Tosunoğlu. Hi Zafer, are you there?
Evet, buradayım Cemal Hocam.
The place is yours.
Okay. Sunum görünüyor mu?
Görünüyor hocam,
Can
sıkıntı
you
yok.
see my
Güzel.
screen? Can you see my screen? Yes, we can, no problem. Thank you, Cemal. Well, first of all, greetings from Izmir, the city, to you all. I'll continue in Turkish if I may. My house is situated on the earthquake line. By the way, the condolences to the people. I prepared this presentation together with 2 of my colleagues whose names can be seen. Through Miles, who made its way from the Suez Canal, ended up in Turkey back in 2014. Then it has spread rapidly westward and recently northward. It came all the way to the Aegean, north side of Aegean, and it has been reported in the Gulf of Izmir recently in the Aegean side. And this microphone off, please. Microphone off, please.
Devam
Hocam,
ediyorum.
mikrofonu açık kalmış, kusura bakmayın da. Devam edin siz.
Please continue, sir. In the Western Mediterranean side of Turkey, we did some field studies, and we understood that this species spread around this region and created high populations and reproduced in high populations. And Murat Trama, a professional diver, came across lots of lionfish during his diving, actually. So in Turkey specifically, and in Mediterranean region, fishing gears such as bottom contact purseine and trawl, gill, entangling nets, long line, hard lines, and others commonly used in Turkish seas are not effective in catching and removal of the lion fish. This is the bottom line, because this fishing gear are the most extensively used ones in Turkey, and they only do bycatch. They can catch one or two lionfish just accidentally. But there is this thick trammel net whose picture can be seen at the bottom, and larger mesh size and thicker twine diameter are effective in catching the lionfish. They can catch targeted dentex, groupers, and breams. Thanks to their larger mesh size and thicker twine diameter, they can be more effective in catching the lionfish as bycatch or by discard as discard. And this fishing gear is instrumental because of the fact that these nets are used in around reefs where the lionfish is localized. You can see the technical features of the net. You can see the trammel net with 42 to 56 millimeters of inner mesh size, and you can see the outer mesh size and the target species. I already counted them, and lionfish can be a part of the target species group in this respect. Pufferfish, lionfish, sharks, skates, and rays are caught as discard. But the thing is, at the bottom, you can see that there's a special design of the mesh. So normally the net is 200 meters of length, but when you lay it ends up in 100 meters. And because of the specific design of the net, the chances of catching the fish would be increased. And this net is being quite instrumental and effective in catching the lionfish. But if you use the net in the whereabouts of the lion, I talked to a diver from Kaş during summertime, and between 20 to 25 of August 2020, he used this net in Kaş, Kalkan region, and for 4 days he captured approximately 100 kilometers of lionfish a day, and he got fed up catching the lionfish, and that's why he wrapped up his luggage and turned back to Antalya. He said, the thing is, if there is demand for the lionfish, then using this net, this fish can be caught, can be captured using this specific net. But this net will be instrumental, especially in catching the fish during summertime, and half of the fish captured would be lionfish, and the rest will be the other receptor species, they say. And the lionfish hunting starts in April and reaches its maximum yield in July and August, and declines in September, and it ends in November in Kalkan Kaş area. And Mediterranean Conservation Society conducted a monitoring study, and in the summer months of 2020, around Kaş Kalkan region, half of the captures consisted of the lionfish at 30 to 50 meters of reef area, and even they can go up to 100 meters with this net, with this fishing gear. But the thing is, a trapping model, a trapping design can be put in place just for the lionfish. That is why we kicked off a project in our in cooperation with the university, and we are planning to try the traps. The sir just before mentioned. I'd like to thank Mr. Gittings for this design. Actually, we're planning to try it. All the technical plans and details, he shared them with us, and he said that we can test it. We can try this trap. So I'd like to extend my thanks to Mr. Gittings once again. We will be in touch with him, and we will be designing a similar trap, and we will be using the trap the next summertime when the lionfish is getting colonized. As Ege University, we have another project in Bodrum Peninsula. We are going to study the biological features of this fish as Ege University. And there has to be a fishing gear specifically for this lionfish. That is why we are targeting at designing such a trap, such a fishing gear only for the lionfish. This is why, you need to come up with a fishing gear which can capture lionfish and protect the rest of the species. And lots of traps have been tried, as you can see on the slide, but the most effective ones was as Mr. Gittings and Harrison presented, was the purse trap and dome trap and similar traps. Can you please wrap up? You don't have time left. Thank you very much. That was it actually. Thank you for the kind attention. Thank
Teşekkür
you.
ederiz Zafer Hocam.
Thank you indeed, Professor
Size
Zafer,
başarılar
for this
diliyoruz.
nice presentation and all the best wishes to you in your
Evet,
nice projects and studies. Thank you. We have come to the end of the first
Şimdi
session.
acaba chat boxlarda sorular var mı?
I am checking the chat box to see whether you have any questions or not.
Mehmet Bey, herhangi bir soru var mı acaba?
Mehmet, do we have questions in the chat box? Well, some of the questions got answered in the chat box already. But there was this question to Mr. Mahir from DG Fisheries and Aquaculture. Well, spear fishing or diving, do we have any restrictions on them too when it comes to Turkish regulation? Can you please enlighten us there? How is the situation in Turkey when it comes to spear fishing and diving for the lionfish? Okay. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. Diving, scuba diving, fishing is prohibited in Turkey. Scuba diving, hunting is prohibited. But without scuba, technically, they can do the spear fishing. It is not prohibited. But for the encouragement of the lionfish hunting and consumption, we are going to come up with some new pieces of legislation. We are going to do our best for the elimination of this fish, and if you have any recommendations, we are open to your recommendations, legislation-wise. Mr. Mahir, I have a question, if I may, a comment maybe. In Turkey, free diving, the maximum limit of free diving and hunting is 5 kilograms. And I think the limit threshold of 5 kilograms can be increased for the lionfish. For example, I cannot do free diving without scuba and hunt more than 5 kilograms of lionfish at the moment. I think there's a piece of legislation needed in this respect. Well, we're open to your suggestion, and we are collecting feedback from the people, stakeholders, currently. So once we complete the process, we will be creating the legislation and go public with it. And we are about to announce the legislation, by the way. We are in the final phase of the formulation of the piece of legislation, and we will be bold when it comes to invasive species. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. You are also encouraging us because you are courageous. Thank you. There was this question to Zafer.
Diye bir soru var Zafer hocama.
Pardon. Bir daha alabilir miyim? Şurada göremedim.
Ben onu ekleyeyim hocam, sonra genel kısmını ekleyeyim bir saniye eğer okumak isterseniz.
I'll be typing the question in the chat box for you.
it looks like there's a question about said that yesterday I talked about lionfish populations in protected areas are not increasing. And to clarify, the lionfish are increasing in those marine protected areas, but in those very healthy reefs, they haven't gotten near as high as the other areas that aren't as protected. And they also asked if we have an integrated invasive alien species plan into our management plan, and we do. And for that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Giddings, who's the director of the United States National Marine Sanctuaries Program, or the chief scientist for the program, and directly worked on developing that invasive alien species plan into our national plan.
Mehmet Bey, bu soruya şöyle cevap vereyim.
Mehmet, let me answer the question, if I may. If there is demand for this fish, the high levels of bycatches may be okay. If the fishermen make money out of this, then bycatch can be tolerable. But the thing is, if there is no economic gain, there is no income generated, then the fishermen will go for the economically feasible ones. But if they go after the other species and then end up in lionfish as bycatch, then the fishermen will be fed up after days, actually, after 3 or 4 days. I gave you an example of a diver from Antalya. That is the thing. And by the way, it is quite challenging to remove the fish from the net, by the way. And we know that the fishermen are getting stung by the fish very frequently, even if the fish, the fish might also be dropped accidentally on the feet of the divers, and it may also cause harm there. But the thing is, economic value should be known to the people. So based on that, the tolerability of the bycatch will depend, actually. Thank you.
Herhalde translation oldu. Çevirmeye gerek yok. Translation'dan duymuşlardır arkadaşlar.
I guess you get the answer through interpretation. So the technical team, in fact, has a request. If you are going to speak in Turkish, please use the interpretation menu Turkish language option. If you are going to speak in English, please use the same for the English channel. Otherwise, the interpretation and the original speech just overlap. Okay, Wahdet has a question for Mahir. It's again written in the chat box. It is related to the incentive system. When is it going to be started? And should the whole fish be included or just the tail? What about the payment of 5 Turkish lira? Is it going to be paid individually, or is it applicable just for one species of pufferfish, or is it also applicable for other species of the pufferfish? Okay. For Leucocephalus scleratus, it was planned and intended because we all see this as a pilot study. We believe that it's the most dangerous and most damaging invasive species, and currently we're still working on it. We're collecting comments and opinions from different scientific institutions. We just focus on the tail part, and the payment amount will be 5 Turkish lira, depending on our budget. In the upcoming years, we believe that we will be including other subspecies as well. So for the first year, the subsidy will be limited to 1 million fish. So 1 million Leucocephalus will be included under the scheme. And small-scale coastal fishermen will be our target audience. So not the commercial fisher, because socioeconomically we would like to subsidize and support the coastal fishermen by making use of this subsidy. Thank you. That's a good idea.
Evet, yeterli
Was the
hocam,
answer
sağ olun. Mehmet
satisfactory?
hocam,
Yes, it was. Thank
başka bir
you.
şey olsa kapatalım isterseniz bu seksiyonu.
So,
Ara
Mehmet
verelim.
Göge, I think we can close the session if there are no further questions. In fact, there is one question from Zafer Tosunov to Dr. Giddings. Let this be the last question, and then we will have a poll. I think Giddings already saw the question in the chat box. We can get the answer, and then we will give the break.
Is this the management plan question?
No, what is catch mechanism of the perch trap? Entangling to the net or FAD?
Sorry, I don't see. It's in the chat box, you said?
Yes, now I also write the questions.
Yeah, I couldn't understand what you said, though. Could you repeat?
Steve,
Yes.
what is the catch mechanism of purse trap?
Oh,
Is entangling to the net or fat in broader time, or
right.
catching to the closed time?
So the fish are free to move until the net closes. So it's a non-containment trap. The lionfish just come to the FAD and stay for a period of time. And when the trap is pulled, the fish are contained only at the point when the trap is pulled. So there is no containment until the time that the fisherman pulls the trap. And then other fish tend to leave because lionfish are docile, but other fish are not as docile. So they tend to leave and lionfish stay, even though the net is closing around them.
Okay, thank you.
Evet, Mehmet hocam, anketle ilgili.
Okay, Professor Mehmet, let's proceed with the poll. Yes, again, we'll have this poll for one question. First, you will see the Turkish version. In 30 seconds, you will see the English version of the same poll question. Please answer just one of the versions. And it's a multi-choice question, by the way. Then, with your permission, we're going to give a break. And then we will convene again at about
Şu anki durum saat
10 or quarter to 5. Yes, that would be nice.
36. Anket 40'ta biter. 50'de.
Let's
16:50
say
diyelim.
we will meet again
16:50'de
at
ikinci
4:50.
seksiyonu açalım.
Okay, let me make a correction. Now I got the warning that you will see the poll question in both languages at the same time. So the poll is a single question, multi-choice poll. Let's answer that and then go for a coffee break.
Each presenter have 5 minutes to present their presentation, and we start with Phil Karp, then Emre Yemişken, and lastly Merve Karakuş. They are presenting marketing alternative uses for Lionfish products, accessories, something else. Yes, Philip, are you there? Philip, hello. Philip Karp, they show, he's showing, but I think Philip, the place is yours first. Can you hear me? I think Mehmet Bey is not hearing. Philip,
hello,
can you hear me? Yeah, it's okay now. The place is yours. You have 5 minutes. Then the other presenter, Emre and Merve, each has 5 minutes. You can start. Place is yours, please.
Okay, I'm going to assume that you're hearing me.
Yeah.
My name is Phil Karp. I'm an independent citizen scientist, formerly with the World Bank. I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to join this excellent program. Can congratulate UNDP and the others for organizing. I also want to express condolences to those affected by the earthquake in Turkey. I want to use my time to quickly give you some experience from the Western Atlantic on market-based approaches to control of invasive lionfish. We've already heard about the reason why lionfish control is important, particularly with respect to impact on native marine ecosystems. As in the Western Atlantic, I understand that lionfish are impacting both in terms of consumption of commercially important species such as grouper, but also ecologically important species such as herbivores and cleaner wrasses. The problem, of course, is that we are aware that broad agreement that eradication of lionfish is impossible. But fortunately, evidence has shown that regular removals and keeping lionfish populations below a certain level allows for recovery of native fish populations. And removals can be done in a number of ways, either through volunteer divers, through organized events and culling, or by marine management agencies. However, doing this on the regular basis that's required is often difficult and financially unsustainable. So the challenge is how to do this in a way that is financially sustainable on an ongoing basis. And this is where market-based tools offer a very good set of solutions. And particularly the development of a series of vertical markets can provide a sustainable approach to suppressing invasive lionfish, and also at the same time provide an alternative income source for fishing communities and to support fisheries management and a native fish stock recovery. The first and best known vertical market, and one that I think Dr. Onal referred to in his presentation, is that of a seafood market, a vertical market involving fishers, seafood sellers, and restaurants and chefs. And there have been a number of efforts along these lines in the Western Atlantic, particularly to promote consumption of lionfish. We heard about lionfish cookbooks, efforts to raise awareness about the culinary benefits. And one of the key fill-ups for this in the Western Atlantic, and one that I think would be nice to consider in the Mediterranean, has been the decision by Seafood Watch, which is the best known sustainable seafood certification body in the US, in 2017 to list lionfish as a best choice. And this was instrumental in having supermarket chains and restaurants begin to really serve lionfish on a much higher basis. Now, the second vertical market, and the one that Dr. Eileen Ullman referred to briefly yesterday, is that of jewelry and handicrafts. Lionfish spines, fins, and tails can be dried and preserved in a variety of shapes and colors, resulting in very attractive material for use in jewelry. A variety of jewelry items can be produced using the spines, using fins and tails. And even some innovative artists are using other parts of the fish, such as pectoral fins and operculum, and making other types of products, such as Christmas tree ornaments, keychains, hairstylers, and so forth. And also mixing the lionfish parts with other materials, such as sea glass, feathers, coconut husk and shell, and even bottle caps. I've looked at lionfish jewelry production for a number of years, and in terms of the current production, there's clusters of production in a number of countries in the Caribbean, as well as individual artists in several countries, as well as in the US. And it's very nice to see that there's some additional production, initial production already in the Mediterranean. In addition to Dr. Ullman, there are some artists in Cyprus who are already producing and selling lionfish jewelry. To give you a sense of the degree of availability, just the other day I did a search on Etsy, which is the best known online platform in the US for selling handicrafts, and over a dozen sellers of lionfish came up. When I did the same search 3 years ago, there were only a handful. So lionfish jewelry is cool, but how does this address the challenge of managing the invasion? I want to quickly tell you about some empirical evidence from several countries in the Caribbean. One of the challenges to incentivizing fishers to remove lionfish has been the fact that the sales price for whole fish and fillets has been relatively low compared to other species, plus the risk of lost fishing days due to envenomation. So we reasoned that if you could up the value add, or if you could up the value per landed fish by using parts of the fish that were previously discarded, such as the fins and spines and tails, you could incentivize fishers to remove lionfish. So we looked at this in several countries where artists are buying the fins and the spines from fishermen. And we found that the landed value could be increased by up to 61% in the case of Belize. The other impact is on livelihoods by creating income opportunities for the artists. And a survey of artists found that over a third indicated that there had been a substantial or great deal contribution to their household income by getting involved in jewelry production. And in fact, I think this is where the benefits are highest. The ancillary benefits in terms of acquisition of new business skills, empowerment, increased household income, and raised awareness about the threat imposed by lionfish. So to conclude, I think the evidence from the Western Atlantic is that market-based tools can have an important role to play in managing lionfish. The development of vertical markets of seafood and jewelry can both help to support regular removals and also raise awareness and bring ancillary benefits such as new income opportunities. And finally, I just want to say that the potential is particularly strong for Mediterranean countries to learn from this experience. I think that the fact that there's middle income, the fact that there's a high sense of fashion within the Middle East countries, as well as an interest in products produced from natural sources. So thank you for your attention, and I hope that in future we'll have a chance to get together to share in more of a face-to-face type situation. So thank you very much, and I look forward to comments when we get to the Q&A part of the program.
Thank you very much, Philip. Thank you, Philip. Now we move on. We move to Emre. Emre, are you there? Yeah, the place is for Emre. Yemişken.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone. Hi. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for having me for this important meeting. And I'm Emre from Istanbul University, and I'm here as a researcher and as an innovator. Well, we all consider the lionfish as a fish food, but it's also used for having other benefits. Okay, certainly it's the best and the simple way to consume it as a fish food, but why don't we use it as an alternative product? Imagine that when you prepare the lionfish for the dinner, you throw away some part of it. For example, first cut the spines, then clean the scales, remove the internal organ, the head, and remove the bones. You have just the white meat. So how could we take an advantage waste of lionfish? First of all, here is a list. We can talk about the marine protein hydrolysates. Marine protein hydrolysates can be considered in utilization of protein hydrolysates, which can be provided nutritional benefits. Also, it plays a significant role and as a functional ingredient for the food industries. As we know that fish proteins are a good resources of the biopeptides, bioactive peptides. So the protein hydrolysates can be used in healthcare also as an antioxidant and the antimicrobials. And when we look to food and beverage application, the product is proven to have positive impacts on the gastrointestinal issues associated with the irritable bowel syndrome and the Crohn's disease. When we talk about the MPH, we need to talk about also marine collagen. As we know that it has included the collagen derivatives as well in the marine proteins, and fish type 1 collagen is a unique, it's extremely high solubility in dilute acids, and the collagen derived from the marine organism offers advantage over the mammalian collagen due to the biocompatibility, biodegradability, and easy extractability. And also we can talk about the low production cost. So profoundly recent research report that the collagen plays a unique role also in promoting all phases of the protein wound healing process when there is any skin injury. So the marine collagen sources. You can see some results from here. We already done the dry collagen and the collagen sponge, and also the nanofiber marine collagen band from the lionfish skin. And secondly, we can talk about the glycosamine glycans. GAGs, what are they? When we talk about the glycosamine glycans, as you know that the hyaluronic acid and the chondroitin sulfate are the most known GNGs in the market, and it is also included that the heparan sulfate and the dermatan sulfate. And these glycosamine glycans in marine animals are different from those of the terrestrial organisms, mainly in terms of the molecular weight and the sulfation. And they're using for the therapeutic properties. And these properties of the GAGs are related to their ability to interact with the proteins, which is very much influenced by the sulfation position and patterns. Since currently GAGs cannot be chemically synthesized, they are sourced from the natural products with high intra, but also the interspecies variability. They play a crucial role in cell signaling process and including the regulation of the cell growth, proliferation, promotion of the cell adhesion, and anticoagulation and the wound repair. And the third one, as a last one, fish oil and omega-3. We can use it for the obtaining the fish oil and omega-3 also. And the rich in the long chain omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA and the DHA, it can supplement diets inadequate in these fatty acids. We can list the benefits of fish oil as a lower blood pressure, reduce the triglycerides, reduce the chance of the abnormal heart rhythms, and reduce the likelihood of heart attack. Here, as you can see, there's some kind of numbers from the market. We bring these numbers from 2019, and we can say that the market of the marine bioactives grow up almost 5% a year. So the growing market is really important for the marine bioactive materials. On the other hand, there is another opportunity for future. Biomaterial sources. A new trend of the scientific research indicates that marine derivatives biocompound can be useful for the 3D bioprinting process. So the next generation biomaterials come from the sea, and lionfish byproduct part of it. It's really important. Before I finish, I would like to thank you all for listening me, and I would like to special thank to Aylin Ullman to give me this opportunity to talk in this platform. And as our African proverb saying, if you go fast, go alone. If you go far, go together. So I would like to also thank to my teammates, Taner Yıldız and the Mert Kesikler. If you have any questions about my issues, please don't hesitate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emre, for this presentation. So we move to Merve Karakuş from Akdeniz Araştırma Enstitüsü'nden.
She's from Mediterranean Research Institute. Hello, Professor Cemal. I'd like to start by giving my condolences regarding the earthquake in Izmir. I wish a quick recovery. Mediterranean Fisheries Research Training Institute is where I work. I've been working there for 8 years. I work as an engineer of aquaculture. I mostly study marine ecology, and actively I've been dealing with the invasive species, and you know our ministry has this as a priority in its action plan. So I've been actively involved in the invasive species. Would you please make your presentation full screen? Let me try.
Aslında o şekilde gönderdim.
Öyle açık olman gerekiyor ilk başta.
Just try to make it full screen on your own computer.
Kapatayım, tekrardan hemen hızlıca yapayım o zaman.
Let me close and open again.
Bir formatta hemen paylaşıyorum. Kısaca, çok affedersiniz.
Just give me a second. I'm sorry about this.
Here. Paylaştım. Gene aynı şekilde mi? Sunum formatında mı?
How does it appear now? It's done. Thank you.
Tamam. Aynı zamanda da Bioma projesinin
I'm also the coordinator of Bioma project. If you are not familiar with this project, let me explain it for you. Related to pufferfish, so it is expanding on the coastal area of Turkey. So tetrodotoxin levels need to be defined, and the probable response methods need to be researched. That is the purpose of our bioma project. So it's related to, it was originally related to pufferfish. Now it relates to both pufferfish and the lionfish. It started in 2018 and it's still ongoing. Specifically, I can talk about lionfish. First, we detect which species are available in Turkey. So where are they expanding? What is the biology? How are they feeding? And how are they behaving? We are researching these topics and we'd like to understand why they are expanding and why are they spreading so fast. So we are interested in whys and the reasons, because in future we will need statistics and some studies, and we'd like to create a necessary foundation and basis for all those studies. As you have been discussing in the last hour, also there will be some legislation work. We need to create a necessary foundation for that as well. In Kaş and Kekova sanctuaries, we carried out some research. We worked with team members and we caught lionfish with space. We studied them in the laboratory. We checked their development phases, growth phases, gonads, etc. And of course, in their original habitats and also in the invasive fields, we organize certain events. For example, in Antalya, Gazi Pasha district, we organized a competition that helped the visibility of our project. Currently, our project is writing down the final reports by the end of the year for the purpose of helping future legislative work. We are creating certain documentation. We're going to give the documents to the Agricultural Research DG of Turkey. You heard the intentions of the ministry from Mahir Bey in certain areas, and we are recommending that hunting should be allowed by use of spears. The Turkish people mostly like certain species, just like Sibas, Bream, and other popular species, not the lionfish, but specifically in Antalya, fish and chips or and other types of cooked fish is already being offered to the consumers. There are also other options. For example, fish meal, fish flour, fish oil, supplements, cosmetic use, jelly. And oxytocin is an important drug in which the fish ingredients are used in textile and also in biogas and fertilizers. You can also find the fish ingredients. Cosmetics should be mentioned specifically because it's attractive to women, but also the jewelry. From the fins of lionfish, necklaces and earrings are produced, but of course this sector is not specific to women. The cufflinks can be produced for men. Mostly in the Caribbean, we see this kind of production a lot. They use almost all parts of the fish and they waste nothing. They use the fillets and they use the ray fins, they use the spines, and anything. So normally what would be the waste it turns into an ornamental jewelry. They cut off the tail and dry out. If you leave it in the shadowy area, then you may eliminate and avoid discoloration. And then you can use gold, silver, and other metallic material in order to create a beautiful piece of jewelry. These pictures are from the Caribbean, and this is mostly done in the Caribbean. Of course, for the conservation of reefs in the Caribbean, I'm always talking about the Caribbean because that was already an invaded area. Lionfish derbies are organized, and then they think about how can we provide further conservation. They organize workshops for this purpose. And again, this is about jewelry making. And however, that has been an important source of income for the women. On the left-hand side, you see a very nice accessory that is used for the eyeglasses, very chic earrings made of fins. Mr. Phil Cobb already mentioned this in his presentation, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you see the value amounts to about 61%. In Kaş and Fethiye, there is a sale of this fish. The up-to-date price is 25 Turkish lira. In Kaş Cooperative, in June, the price was 20 Turkish lira for a lionfish, the same price in Fethiye as well. In Alanya, the spear fisherman sells one fish for 25 or 30 Turkish lira, and that man created his own market for himself, dries the tails, and he uses the tails together with his wife in order to make some jewelry. That has been an alternative source of income for that household. And also there was one housewife within the scope of our Bioma project. We just cut off the tails and then we dried them and we sent the tails to that lady. She designed very beautiful jewelry by using those tails. Because of the pandemic, she cannot promote the products very much, but anyway, but next year during the spring and summer, they will be available online and in Kaş Kekova. You can also find them in the streets. So some short survey. Currently, in fact, there is not much harm because not much money is paid for the material, and also, I mean the fish material, but for the other jewelry making materials, they pay a little amount. It means that for the first year, 30%, and for the second year, up to 50 to 60%, a profitability margin is being estimated. If you have any questions about the project, you can send them by email. You can type them in the chat box. I know that your time is limited. I would like to thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Professor Cemal. Thank you, Merve, for this nice presentation. I see that the ministry is also doing and executing this project, and this is a very comprehensive project. It has many aspects. Thank you for informing us about this, and I wish you good luck. Thank you. The next presentation is about food cartel and will be delivered by Mr. Nikos Dompas.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for your invitation. Nice to meet you, everyone. It's really nice all these 2 days. I mean, we all have learned so much. I'm going to present you share screen. Just a moment. Okay. Do you see the presentation? No, from the slide. From the first slide. Okay. So I'm going to present you our project in Greece that we are trying to promote the consumption of edible alien species that IC is implementing. It's called Pick the Alien. We all know and we learned that these 2 days that alien species are a great problem in the Mediterranean and worldwide because it causes many negative effects in the local ecosystems, in the economy and the human health. but also in Greece is one of the most affected countries with over than 230 alien species recorded. From our project, Easy Alien to You Share It, this is a map of records from last year that we have made from the records that we get from citizen scientists all over Greece. We can see that the Dodecanese region and Crete Island is the most affected, and there are most alien species to be recorded. Now, the negative impact is that in marine ecosystem, they invade the place, as I can say, and they remove other species. Also, in the economy, for example, blue crab is really reducing the product of, for example, mussel farms and the fish that are caught from the nets in the artisanal fishers. And of course, we all know the negative effects of consumption of Lagocephalus scleratus and all pufferfish that exist in Mediterranean in the human health. Now, what we can do, there are many innovative techniques. We can use the tetrodotoxin, for example, in medical and pharmaceutical uses. For example, they're trying to find out a new way to using the toxin in Botox. As it was mentioned before, there are also the commercial use of making jewelries from the fins of lionfish. We can see here two photos from Reliant Med Project Life and from Mercy, from Eileen Ullman. And of course, there's the consumption of edible alien species and of course, lionfish. The project started last year in Kyklades Island from funding from this year's two foundations, Kyklades Preservation Fund and Ionian Environment Foundation, and Pick the Alien project was born. One of the things that we do is raising awareness because people need to know that there are alien species in Greece. Here are some posters that you can find out informative material in the posters that you can find the information if the species are edible, if they are toxic, if they are venomous, and of course, if you cannot eat it or not. These are the posters. And now we all know that there are most of the alien species are edible. We can see some examples here: lionfish, trumpetfish, red sea goatfish, spinefoots. These all species exist in Mediterranean in Greece in great numbers, and we can take advantage of these species. And especially when in other countries they are considered delicacies, while in Greece they are thrown away. On our last year, we tried to inform mostly fishers in order to promote the consumption and selling these species because they already catch these species. But because there is no market for these species in Greece, fishers cannot promote them. So we were trying to teach them that they are tasty, how to handle lionfish, and in order to promote and sell these species to the fish market and to the restaurants. This year, we tried to inform also the chefs and the restaurant owners, because we wanted to make a next step. Since that already fishers, they know that this species can be eaten, it's now turn that the chefs and the restaurants know and learn these species, that they are edible, they are tasty, and they can sell them to the consumers, to promote them to the consumers, and additionally promote sustainable seafood. This year, we focused on Kyklades Islands and on Ionian. On the Ionian, we have visited Lefkas, Kefalonia, and Zante Islands with the food truck because of COVID, we didn't have the chance to make indoor events. We decided to find out a way that more people will come because they were afraid to be inside doors events. So the best way was to promote street food events containing edible alien species. On the Ionian and on Kyklades, we had lionfish, spinefoots, and blue crabs for the consumers to try out. In conclusion, we informed more than 30 chefs and restaurants in Kyklades and Ionian, and then more than 3,000 consumers tried out edible alien species, and everyone was enthusiastic about the taste, and everyone was positive of buying in a restaurant this species and tasting it. We also have created a recipe of edible alien species ebook that contains recipes for lionfish, trumpetfish, spinefoot, and now we are going to renew it, adding blue crabs. This ebook can be found in English, in Greek language, and in Arabic, so everyone can find it in our site. Not all it was about promoting alien species, but we wanted to inform also about the negative effects of alien species to local communities. And while they were tasting, I was giving the scientific information that people had to have in their mind in order to understand why we are doing this. Because it's not only about tasting something new, it was about promoting these species in order to reduce their expansion, their reproduction of their population, and it was really important for the consumers to understand that they should start asking and they start taking in the restaurants and advising also the restaurant by themselves to add in their menus edible alien species. Here you can see some examples from the plates that the chefs of the food cartel prepared. This is made from blue crab and ciganus because lionfish and it really fast since it's really tasty. And we are moving also, we hope that if this COVID-19 stuff hopefully ends this year, we hope the next steps is to promote even bigger in the Crete Islands in Dodecanese, this food truck and street food consumption of edible alien species, and to even more regions in Greece. Thank you all for your attention. I hope that if you have any questions. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Introduction to the consumption in Turkey by Zafer Kızılkaya. Hi, Zafer.
Hi, Cemal. How are you?
I'm all right. You too? You're fine? Thanks for your...
Can you see the presentation? But I'm trying to... I cannot change the pages. I'm trying... But I cannot move on the pages. Okay, let me go back. All right, now it's working. Okay, so I'm Zafer Kızılkaya from Mediterranean Conservation Society. Our project is about economic valorization of lionfish, not only lionfish, but in this case, we just concentrated on lionfish, introduction to customers in Turkey. And this project is funded by United Nations Development Program Small Grants and Endangered Landscape Program. And we started in 2 places in Turkey, Göcek and Kaş towns, where small-scale fisheries having a lot of problems about invasive species. So we have a stock assessment analysis about the invasive species. So we use, daily fishers going out, and out of, let's say, 1,000 meters of net, how many kilograms of which species of invasive species coming out. So this is one of the day from this summer. And you can see this is from June, 8th of June, and 25 kilograms of lionfish came out of whole net. The length of the net is 2,200 meters, and it is more than 50% of the catch in terms of weight is lionfish, and you can see the other invasives here from the Latin names. You can follow it up. So there's a big problem, the invasive species in Kaş, and this is a kind of picture. It's quite historical because this fishing net is 3,000 meters. 267 fish came out of this fishing net. There was only one local species. So, which is more than 99% of this catch was invasive, as Zafer Tosunoğlu mentioned. You know, some of them getting at least 50, 60 kilograms of lionfish, soldierfish, pufferfish. So fishery is not anymore a livelihood, but challenged with invasive species in these places like Kaş and Göcek. If you move further eastern to Turkey, it's getting worse, we believe. So we, you know, regarding the survey, the question you asked, one question, we had a very elaborate survey in Göcek and Kaş with almost 459 consumers, 31 restaurants altogether, and 20 fishers about a behavior change. So when we are talking about the consumers, 85% of consumers in Kaş don't eat lionfish, and 91% don't eat trumpetfish. We also just put trumpetfish here. In Göcek, 91% don't eat lionfish at all. And when you look at the graphs, the reason why they don't eat lionfish, and it's apparently just striking, it is not readily available to buy. You know, if you look at the lionfish in Göcek, which is aslan in Turkish, which is green color on the graph, it is not readily available is the biggest problem. The second thing is restaurants don't serve this fish. And the third one is it is not a local fish. So these three answers are just showing us that we have to concentrate on these things. When we come to consumer again, Kaş and Göcek, 23% have seen lionfish for a sale in some way in the market or in the fishing boat somehow. 10% have tried it at home. 15% have tried it at a restaurant. When we come to Göcek, 6% have seen lionfish for a sale. 9% have tried it at home. 1% have tried it in a restaurant. And the role of chefs and restaurants here are very important. We communicated one of the top chefs in the country, more than 15 of them, and they have been running very high-end restaurants, not the kind of daily type of restaurants, but very high-end that you cannot go without a reservation. So they tried all the lionfish, you know, that we sent, including also soldierfish and any other, you know, invasives that we got from the fishing community. And they have many recipes, and they like the fish, they like the texture, they like the, you know, taste, and they love it. They can move it and they can play it in many ways. So when we come to restaurants in Kaş and Göcek, for Kaş, 6 restaurants correctly identified lionfish. 1 claims lionfish to be a local species. In Göcek, 1 restaurant's currently serving it, correctly identified lionfish, and claims it should be a local species. So why do you serve lionfish when you ask to restaurant owners? The answer that strikes makes a good profit and environmentally friendly, and then comes tastes good. So these 3 answers just shows us what a restaurant could see when they are trying to serve a lionfish to consumers. And another answer that gives us, you know, kind of challenging, easily available during it is season, but what season? So when you ask the same question, why you don't serve aslan in, you know, lionfish in the restaurant, some of them say it is unhealthy, low customer demand, nobody knows it, not readily available, does not taste good. So the second thing is that we prepare a film about health and safety. So each chef has a different style to clean the fish. Some of them are very familiar. They even didn't cut the, you know, dorsal spines. And some other chefs have a kind of, you know, scissors to cut all the spines. Now we come to the restaurants again. 10 restaurants would serve aslan and lionfish. They say that 24% they say it's a low demand. 23% say there's a familiarity problem, and 23% says a preparation is a challenging thing. And 5 restaurants in aslan in Göcek would serve lionfish if there is a greater customer demand. So you can see also on the right side, important factors when you're choosing a fish for sale in the restaurant: sustainability, profit of sale of the dish, taste. I'm not going into details of this. So there are so many questions and graphics that we came out of this, including fishers. So if you have a question later, I can answer directly. So the key messages: the primary barriers selling lionfish by fishers are market value is not high enough to justify fishing. But I saw that in Belize, $3 per liver means $3 per 2.2 kilogram. In Turkey, we offer $3 per kilogram. You know, even this price is not enough for the community. Second thing is there is not enough demand for lionfish among customers, and yet 20% of restaurants and 20% of customers claim lack of availability as a secondary barrier. Availability and thus visibility attributes the great sense of familiarity. So you can see here another graph, Kaş and Göcek, familiarity and consumption. It is apparent that all local people in Kaş are much more familiar with lionfish than in Göcek. So another key message: high percentage of customers are very concerned about health of the sea, but only 3 to 37 consumers who eat lionfish quote this as a factor. 100% of fishers and restaurants identify the lionfish correctly. However, 25% of fishers believe they prey on fish eggs and other species, suggesting a fair bit of misinformation. Only 55% of consumers correctly identify the lionfish, and 100% of fishers catch lionfish, all of it unintentionally as a bycatch, and it is on average 20 to 30% of annual catch, and supply exists, demand can be stimulated. In the meantime, we have an Instagram account for this, new species as a yeni balıklar. And here is our thing. We now work with 25 very high-end restaurants from Muğla to Bodrum to Istanbul, mainly in Istanbul. They now put the lionfish in their menus. And we also start working with 3 big hotel chains. It's all international chains. So there is a big demand right now from the restaurants, but we don't have a fish. In the summertime, many of the fishing community members somehow involved with tourism business, so they don't go out fishing, or they change their gears, which is only for sandy waters, so they never catch lionfish. So in a moment, we had a big shortage of lionfish. We have storage, we have cold chain delivery and everything, but we don't have fish. And these restaurants are very high-end restaurants, and there is no excuse for us to say that we don't have supply. So in this case, we contacted with Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Aquaculture General Directorate to ask permission to harvest with long poles. We have poles, we have the zookeepers, and our permission was declined by ministry, so we couldn't harvest any fish at that time for the restaurant demands. So this is the biggest problem for the time being: sustainability of supply. So Mahir, probably you are hearing this. You have to reconsider your thoughts about giving permission catching lionfish on scuba by poles, because the more restaurant, the more people, the chefs hear from the others in Istanbul and in other region. So there is more demand coming to us, but we could not answer them because we don't have a kind of sustainable supply from the local community. As long as there is this is my last sentence. As long as there is a demand from the restaurants, we only go to fishers, local community, to buy lionfish, paying $3 per kilo. So if there is a sustainable supply, this is a kind of snowball. It's going to get a big avalanche in a couple of years time period ahead. Thank you.
Hanging now your nice pictures on food. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we move to last presentation because Tahsin not show up. Tahsin Ceylan he had a work to do because the workshop is beyond the shadow, so he has to move. That's why this presentation now is gonna be last one. Fish in and around Antalya province by Mine. Are you there, Mine? Merhaba.
Hello. I'm Mine Canikli, aquaculture engineer. I represent Fisheries Cooperative. I'll be talking about the current situation as regards the lionfish in and around Aslan, in and around lionfish. Yes, Mine, we're listening to you. Thank you. I got data from the heads of cooperative societies in and around Antalya. First of all, I'll be talking about the lionfish itself. I will talk about its origin. The lionfish, in fact, normally inhabits the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, especially the western coast. It lives mostly in the coral reefs. However, it is dangerous for the people, human beings. I mean, it is expanding, however, through all the Mediterranean, the upper and lower fins, and also venomous spines are the danger to the human beings. And in 2014, we got first reports. According to data I got from the cooperatives in and around Antalya, lionfish, in fact, is a bycatch that you can find in the net together with other species of fish. With the long line and with the entanglement net, they normally catch fish, but in those gears they also find that the lionfish as a bycatch. So normally the weight is around 1 kilogram, and in some restaurants around Kaş, there are good chefs who can really do the cleaning and gilling, so they prepare the nice fillets. However, there is a very limited number of people who can do it. It's not really commercially sustainable. The price per kilogram ranges between 15 to 20 Turkish lira. In Kaş, the prices differ. It may be 10, 15, or 20 Turkish lira per kilogram. However, the sales is not very active because even the sellers are people who are familiar with how to do the gutting, the gilling, etc. I got this information from the heads of cooperatives. In Antalya, in Kaş, we have these kinds of cooperatives. They provided this information, and I represent the Union of Fisheries Cooperatives. I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mine, for the nice presentation. Thank you. Tell our best regards to Ramazan Bey. Thank you. I will.
Last section now. Now we can be through the questions. Now I opened the question section and also group discussion together. We make the summary and group discussion and also the questions for the last presentations together. So we save the time also. And Uraz, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Can you put down the some conclusions or remarks for this section?
No. Maybe Mehmet Bey can make some conclusion for this section, obviously, but we do, prefer to do this, evaluation, the last question, maybe before going through discussion. Hocam.
Okay.
We have last one question, to maybe evaluate before going through discussions. session.
All right. Yeah. As I said, together, when first with question, then discussion.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Orhun Bey, can you please, open or,
Yeah. Any question?
Yes, thank you.
There is an anket came up.
Okay, we have, of course, one last question, and you see the Turkish ones, and we, after just 30 seconds, you got the English ones. Please answer the Turkish. Turkish people, of course, are going to answer the Turkish one.
Hocam ben submit edemiyorum.
Professor, I cannot submit my poll. Why?
In your computer.
Cemal Hocam?
Yeah. Is there any pop-up restriction in your computer?
I couldn't understand.
Sorunun anketin sonuna doğru iner misiniz Burak Bey eğer sorunuz varsa?
Would you please scroll down on the poll dialog window?
So
you go page down.
Okay, there are several others. Okay. Yes.
Orhun, maybe we can switch to English now. I guess it's enough. Yes, thank you.
Is it one is enough? We have already done it. Just we close this one for English.
No, hocam. This is the English one for our foreign experts.
Turkish one.
The Turkish one is done, and
okay.
Now, yes, the English one is, going
We have
through.
to do it here as well.
Exactly.
All right.
Biraz daha. Are we okay filling out the evaluation, or Orhun Bey tamam mıyızdır acaba?
İstediğiniz zaman
Orhan,
kapatabiliriz.
do you think we're done? Yes, we can close it. Whenever you say it's okay. Yeah, let's close it. I think everyone has done the evaluation already.
Nasıl?
Gitti galiba. Zaten kaybettim.
Hocam söz sizde. Tamam, biz bitirdik.
Okay, Professor, over to you. We're done with the poll. I'd like to thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank all the experts. We believe that that was an awesome and great event. We had some technical peculiarities, but anyway, everything was great and very useful. Of course, a study report is going to be prepared. We're going to get your confirmation before we share all the presentations. Now I'd like to give the floor to our project manager, Mr. Mehmet Gölge. Well, let's start with the questions. Okay. I did the thank you part before the questions, but anyway, I would give the floor to the Director General and Head of the Department later on. Anyway.
Is there any question for the last section?
Yes, I have one question. Can I ask directly?
Yeah, you can ask directly.
Okay.
Hocam duymuyoruz.
I'll ask the question to Zafer Kızılkaya. However, it is open to anyone else. The question is, I think there's a paradox, great paradox on supply and demand of lionfish. Because Zafer said during the summertime, the fishers are, they prefer to work in tourism sector rather than fishing. So if fishers target more valuable and more commercial fish species rather than lionfish. So there's no regular supply for the lionfish. How are we going to deal with this challenge, this issue actually? We are complaining about the lionfish. We claim that there's lots of lionfish in the sea, and there's market. Chefs and the big restaurants and the hotel owners are demanding lionfish, but the market, there's something wrong in the market. How are we going to solve this problem? This one of the questions. The second one is, do you think this is a problem of the situation or conditions of small-scale fisheries in Turkey or maybe in Mediterranean, which is getting part-time fishing activity rather than full-time commercial activity? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the first question.
Right.
And then maybe the second question is better to be answered by Mahir Kanilmaz. As a first question, it was our surprise that over 800 kilometers of coastline, more than 30 fishery cooperatives, there are rigs that we couldn't get even 3 kilograms of lionfish. But when we dive, there are thousands of them. If they let us to harvest, we can harvest as many as we like. But no fishers going out or no fishers catching. And on the other hand, in Bodrum Peninsula, approximately 14 to 16 fishery cooperatives, Fisheries and Aquaculture General Directorate, Bodrum office misinformed them that catching lionfish is illegal. So when we asked lionfish from those cooperatives, they clearly answered that we cannot do it because they told us by government this is illegal, catching and selling lionfish. We told them there is no such thing. So such kind of misinformation coming from government is also just, making the things difficult for us. So there should be a kind of lionfish fishery organized, and Another reason, Wahdet, that they are not catching lionfish or any other invasive species, they still don't recognize them as a target species. This is just by catch. If they go out fishing, if they put their nets along a rocky reef, and if they catch lionfish, then they are trying to sell it to us, right? Otherwise, this is not a target species. As Zafer Tosunoğlu mentioned, there are days they are catching 100 kilograms of lionfish, and we readily pay them $3 in cash, which makes $300 for just, lionfish share in their catch. So they are not interested. So there should be a kind of more, peer-to-peer communication with community members, local government officials, that lionfish could be harvested, lionfish could be sold, and it should be a target species. Maybe there should be more incentives rather than buying just $3 per kilo, which is a kind of, not that high, but it's not that bad if they're coming with 20, 30 kilos of lionfish, only getting $100 from the lionfish among their catches. It is something for their livelihood, I believe. And you are making the, socioeconomic analysis. So it's a kind of, alternative income for them. So there should be a kind of good information channels, coming from government side too, that they should go and harvest lionfish and other species. And in the time that we cannot find any lionfish for restaurants or hotel chains, and we need a permission to go and do a harvest by scuba diving and spares.
Okay, Zafer, thank you. Please, can we make the question and answers short because
özür dilerim. Bir konuya açıklık getirmek istiyorum.
Excuse me, I would like to clarify one point. Yes, please. Mahir Khan Yılmaz. I don't know, maybe it is related to interpretation in Bodrum. You said there was misinformation coming from the government, if I understood you correctly. So rather than saying government, maybe you should say, or you were trying to say that the local staff working there, individuals misinformed the fishes, because the DG for Fisheries and Aquaculture is not against the catch of this fish. There's no restriction. There's no restriction about this, but of course we recognize the need to improve the catches. We're going to work on it. Thank you, Professor Mahir Khan Yılmaz. Thank you. But as of today, as of today, there is no lionfish catch in Bodrum. Okay, I will call Bodrum now and I will sort it out. Okay, Professor Vahdet Ünal. About your first question, I think it is applicable for Antalya. It's specific for a certain region. In Iskenderun Bay, in Mersin Bay, this is not a common problem. So the fishermen do fishing in the summer as well. They continue with their routine activity. But for Antalya, you are right. That is the case. Any other questions?
Bir şeye açıklık tekrar getirmek istiyorum müsaadenizle. Chat bölümünde de var.
I would like to clarify one more point. It is in the chat box. In the Caribbeans, I think they're talking about the abuse with the grouper catch. So for the grouper catch, it can be offered as an excuse in Turkey, but of course this is not a valid excuse. We recognize this. Yes, that abuse thing. There is always an abuse of a new rule introduced, so this is always applicable.
Philip, did you want to say something? Yes. Evet, başka sorusu olan?
Any other questions? May I have a comment? Yes, please.
Geliyor.
Kapalı mıymış? Tamam. Yol kenarında durdum da.
Okay, I just pulled over the road. I am the chair of Amateur Line Fishing Society. My name is Teoman. So first, it's about the implementation of the current legislation. There is a lack of sanctions. Because of the lack of sanctions, the illegal spear fishing, especially of groupers. It's done very commonly, and the catch is sold to the restaurants. And when you ask the fishermen, they easily explain you how they circumvent the inspections, etc. You have to sort this out. Regarding the lionfish, there are some recommended solutions. Even if you implement them or not implement them, please know that there is need for action. Regarding the abuse, unless you implement the legislation in effect in a more effective way, or unless you produce a smarter piece of legislation, implement this, you will continue suffering from the abuse problem. The second comment is related to the potential role to be played by amateur fishers. For example, can you give any recommendations from the Caribbean experience? Because we are ready to help. For the pufferfish, we already started working on it. And likewise, we can offer our help for lionfish as well. So the foreign colleagues showed us very good data. We also benefited a lot from Zafer Bey's presentation. Would like to do our best. What can we do? Thank you. Thank you, Teoman. Excuse me. I always feel the necessity to take the microphone and answer. Okay, you say that the legislation is not effective enough. Maybe this is not really true, but you should say that people who are willing to abuse the legislation are always walking ahead of the legislation. Yes, this is the case all around the world, and we will be doing our best. Thank you. Let's close the session. I believe this is what we should do because we are really ahead of our time. And let me talk about the evaluations we received. Correction. Let's do some overall evaluation of the last couple of days. So you can also take this as a summary of the 2 days. You can also speak after my summary. So after the pufferfish, now in Turkey, lionfish seems to be a problem. It was already included in one of our polls. So there is lack of awareness, which is a huge gap, which is a huge challenge, because lionfish should be known as an economically valuable fish, and there is work to be done regarding the fishing and hunting of this fish. Some projects are needed, maybe some research projects, and there's a gap in Turkey about this. So regarding biological data, regarding the catching techniques, there is a gap in Turkey. Unfortunately, there is such gap. And in Turkish seas, about biology, ecology, and catching of lionfish, we need more studies and more research. This is clear. So when I look at the last couple of days, I can make the following overall evaluations. There were some scientific researches. They were actually executed as projects, but of course, their number should be increased. Marias, in fact, is here in order to cover and close this gap. It's a very precious project in this regard, because the Marias is aiming at closing the gap. The ministry and UNDP are willing to close the gaps and work on at least narrowing down the existing gaps. So there are some gaps in the legislation, and that was also mentioned by Mr. Mahir Khan Yilmaz. The government is working on it. And of course, the legislative gaps and vacuums need to be completed. Marias is working on it as well, as far as I'm concerned. So this is my personal evaluation of the last couple of days. Of course, about economic value, we heard a lot, especially from the United States and the Caribbean. There are many lessons that we can learn. And foreign colleagues provided us with beautiful presentations. So that's all. Is there anybody who would like to talk? Who would like to give any overall evaluations?
Mr. Turan, can I make a comment, please?
Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you.
Gürel hocam tamam, vereceğim.
Yeah, so
And
very
later on, Güral.
Yes,
You first, please.
Okay, yes. So very quickly, I think, this has been excellent. And we've heard about a number of different types of initiatives relating to harvesting, gear, marketing, and the like. And I would just like to make the point that from the experience of the Caribbean, the countries that are doing best are those that are taking an integrated approach, that are looking at, on the one hand, raising awareness among consumers, which that then raises the interest and the price that consumers are willing to pay for lionfish. At the same time, they're being strategic about the areas in which they allow fishers to remove lionfish and the areas that are closed to fishers. So for example, within marine protected areas, there they encourage dive operators to take divers to do removals. And they tell the dive operators, don't do removals in the areas open to fishermen, leave those lionfish for the fishers. Integrating also the food item and the handicraft item, as I mentioned, by having fishers buy, having artists buy fins and spines from fishermen, it raises the landed value. At the same time, what we've done in Belize and elsewhere is that the jewelry artists give free earrings to waitresses and servers in the restaurants. So that is, again, is another way of raising awareness. So my point here is that an integrated approach is a way to create synergies and really to result in a higher impact than having a bunch of individual uncoordinated initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. I totally agree with you. Integrated approach is crucial for the lionfish. And any more suggestion? Teoman hocam, Gürel hocam. Gürel hocam buyurun. Söz sizin.
Merhabalar. Ben bir iki konuda katkıda bulunmak istiyorum.
I'd like to contribute on a few topics. So, regarding the use of lionfish in aquariums, they also have such a value. If I missed, I'm sorry about this, but I did in some of the presentations you already touched upon this. However, let me say the following. In the importation of marine aquarium fish, the lionfish and pufferfish importation is still permitted. Maybe you can review the legislation in this regard. Especially, this is about Mahir Kayılmaz. In his presentation, he announced that they are going to review the legislation in future. So, how about economizing this fish for aquarium use? So, how about harvesting them live and transferring them live? How about putting some requirements in the legislation so that we will not leave any gaps in futures about the use of lionfish for aquarium? And also, let's look at the distribution, the natural distribution of lionfish in the Turkish seas. Bodrum, Marmara, Kaş, and other districts are touristic resorts of Turkey with a high potential. So, in the boat trips, for touristic purposes, and also for the touristic swimmers, we need to raise awareness in the community. What can we do about this? Because there's a huge gap, I believe, about this awareness. Also, as far as I'm concerned, around the world, 9 types of lionfish are used for aquariums. In Turkey, mostly the 2 of them. So Mauritania is one of them, but there is a report that it's a hybrid type. So if it is going to be Pterois only. This is naturally existing in our seas. Maybe we should stop its importation. And we can use it in urban aquariums for awareness raising, and let's concentrate on catching them live, harvesting them live, and transferring them live. Mahir Kan Yılmaz, please take this into consideration. That workshop can be an opportunity for conveying these wishes to you. So, Mr. Kan Yılmaz, would you like to say anything? So regarding the aquaculture regulation, we are updating it. It's about to be finalized. We are going to open it up for comments. We are making some new regulations about importation of alien species. Okay, you are going to have it ratified. Currently, there are two types of this lionfish in our country. Maybe you can just generalize the wording in the legislation. So just say, okay, all the lionfish. Maybe in future we're going to see another type of lionfish. We don't know. Yeah, in the regulation, we will just draw the framework, and then it will be followed by a communique. Maybe in 6 months or 1 year, it will be detailed with the communique. So the regulation will be a more general piece of legislation. Okay, thank you. Okay, we recognize the need for awareness raising, as Mr. Gürel Türkmen has mentioned. Any other inputs?
Ben bir şey daha söyleyebilir miyim?
May I add one more thing? I already typed it into the chat box, but my battery is almost dead. But anyway, so I also study environmental information management and indicators. So we give certain warnings because of climate change effect. There are changes in the species. There may be a higher mobility of the species because of surface sea water temperatures are changing and the icebergs are melting down. This is changing the salinity of marine waters. So that mobility will be increasing, will be further increasing. So the habitats will be changing. In future, you will see more of this mobility. In fact, Marias takes into consideration many components, many of these components. So not only the catching and harvesting areas, not only biology and ecology, but also we take into consideration the climate change. As Phil has mentioned, we have to adopt an integrated approach. We need to take into account many components together. This is how we can deal with this fact, and many researchers did their research accordingly so far. So for the first time, I invented this fish in Samandağ for the Turkish area. So many endemic species were shifted by this fish. So some endemic species, which used to be high in quantity, is very rare now because lionfish is feeding on them. So the behavior is changing. I compare how the lionfish was on the first sighting and how it is now. There is a huge change in behavior. Sometimes I put it in a corner, and I also record it on a camera. In fact, earlier it was intimidated. It used to be intimidated, but now it is no more intimidated. It's trying to send me away. It's trying to show me that it is the boss. So there is a huge change of behavior. Thank you. Do we have time? Moderator, let's say last 5 minutes. Okay, I will be very brief. I think you can hear me. Yes, we can. That's a big problem, but I think it's easy to deal with. This is my personal opinion. So I think it's very clear what we need to do. So the Director General for Fisheries and Aquaculture, the head of Resources Department, he has been with us since the beginning of this event. So he's very familiar with this topic, and I am sure that he has noted down all the highlights from these discussions. This is important. I believe that we didn't react very quickly in the face of pufferfish. I'm not criticizing any person or any entity, but the pufferfish just entered into Turkish waters and we couldn't react properly and we couldn't make use of it in a positive way. But that should be an example for us. Now we need to think about ways of benefiting from lionfish, because during this workshop we heard about a lot of these ways. So first of all, a good fishing or harvesting pressure should be created, and then market should be created. I wanted to highlight these effects. One last sentence. The legislation, whatever is needed in legal terms, should be prepared as soon as possible. Then we can take steps forward. Thank you. Okay, let me say the last sentence and then I will give the floor to İrfan Ünsal because he's the coordinator of the project. Let me say the last sentence. I did field work in Iskenderun Bay. For Marias, I did the last site work, for example. I'm always in the field. There are some alien species which are very abundant in our waters, Cetoson, for example. Long spine sea urchin. So for fishers and for some sectors, it may not be very valuable. But thinking about human health, thinking about ecology, there's some harm it can create. So that long spine sea urchin should also be dealt with. Eel, some kind of eel, it's very venomous. Eel catfish, its name. It patrols at night. During daytime, you cannot see it. And there are some more species as well. But first of all, we have to cope with the lionfish. As Vahdet Ünal said, we were delayed in taking action in the face of pufferfish, but we shouldn't be delayed to act in the face of lionfish. The sooner the better. So the DG of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mr. Mahir Kayılmaz, I would like to thank you. You are very sensitive about these issues and you are very active. Thank you. So, Professor İrfan, now I would like to give the floor to you. Thank you. I know it's late, but anyway, I would like to thank for the valuable information. Marias project will be continuing. This is not only Turkey's project, this is a regional project. So we act within the framework of conventions. We need cooperation with neighboring countries. Our ultimate goal is to raise awareness. We need to create an economic value for these species. There is a Caribbean model now. Maybe we can develop a Mediterranean model, or we also work with other species, Atlantic starfish, pufferfish, and other dangerous alien species. We will continue. And we're going to involve all citizens from 7 years to 77 years old. I would like to thank everyone for the contribution. I hope this cooperation will continue. I hope in future we are going to hold a face-to-face workshop. I hope if the committee allows, we want to organize a workshop in Antalya. Now I would like to give the floor to Muhammed Bey, Deputy Director General. He's going to close the session. I would like to thank all the participants. Excuse me. I don't want to usurp the microphone, but on behalf of the Director General, I would like to say a few words before the DG. I would like to speak, if you excuse me. Anyway, yes, just go ahead. Okay, Director General, can I speak? Yes, please. In many workshops, symposiums, seminars, I participated. but thinking about the needs of this country, thinking about the good examples and practices. So this has been very fruitful because this has been very well focused. This has been contributed a lot by foreign experts. I would like to thank the project team. I would like everyone who put efforts in the organization of this event. I owe you this thank you as the Director General for Fisheries and Aquaculture. The aquatic biodiversity is our responsibility. We're aware of this responsibility. So the projects, demands, requests coming from the field are always considered in our office. We try to respond to those demands within the framework of legislation. If the legislation is not enough for the day, then we try to update the legislation. Please be aware of this. The problem is a global problem. I hope we will achieve better results altogether. I would like to thank all the participants. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Director General, and I would like to thank the organizers. Thank you. Have a nice evening or have a nice day. Good morning. So in whichever part of the world you are, have a nice day. That's all for me. Thank you.
Değerli katılımcılar, hepinize ben de hayırlı akşamlar diliyorum.
Distinguished participants, hello. If there are no further speakers, I would like to take the floor in the stand of our two-day workshop. So maybe it took your attention. I followed all the speeches. I believe that it was a very fruitful event. I would like to thank the organizers. I would like to thank who delivered a presentation and who contributed to the topic. And I see that the number of participants is over 110. I would like to thank each and every one of you specifically. That has been a great achievement. Thank you. Of course, it's a pity that we cannot make it face-to-face and physically, but anyway, this is not possible for the time being. So in all the workshops around the world, we hear similar problems. So biodiversity is threatened. And native species are under the threat everywhere, and everyone is trying to achieve similar goals. This is good to see that we are all trying to achieve the same thing. I hope we will be able to hold the next workshop in Antalya. I would like to thank you once again. Have a nice day and evening. Thank you. And all the experts participating. I would like to thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. You put a lot of effort in your work. Thank you. We hope we will continue benefiting from your experience. As Mr. Director General mentioned, there will be a follow-up of this event. First, we're going to share our report. Maybe it will be like a book, including all the proceedings of the event. We will check what we can do. Regarding the lionship and also regarding other priority species, we intend to have similar initiatives. I would like to thank the speakers for sharing the knowledge. Bayram and Cemal, we would like to thank you for being moderators. It was valuable, and you facilitated the running of our event. Thank you. Eileen contributed a lot to the organization. She intermediated in the communication with the experts. Thank you. So this is not a project of UNDP only. This is all our project. The Ministry of Agriculture, many departments, and many DGs are also contributed a lot to this initiative. I would like to thank all the relevant departments. The organizer company, Serenas, Orhun and his team, thank you very much. During the last 2 days, we had 2 patient interpreters. Would like to thank them for helping us communicate. Thank you. And Uras from the project team, thank you as well. We hope we will meet again in future in other events. Have a nice day or evening. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ben alkışlıyorum.
Thank you.